morning. So this morning I am meeting Richard. He is a property investor here in Tokyo, and I first of all got lost on the train because I still don't know how the system works. But alright, I'm walking through some of the neighborhoods here that I like to show you. So what Richard is going to show me today is just what he does as an investor on every single day. Apparently today some of his tenants have moved out, so we're going to have an inspection of one of the units, how it looks, what he looks out for, what he does after that, and then what is the process that it goes through every day as a more hands-on type of investor in order to get new tenants and to fix up the property. So one of the properties that we're viewing is in the area of Hachioji in Tokyo. It is a little bit more residential. This property is about a 6-minute bus ride and from the closest station. So his target audience will definitely be a lot more residential people with maybe a little bit more families. So good morning, Richard. Thank you so much for having me here.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
So tell me, what are we going to do today?
We're going to have a look around a couple of the empty units. One of them's just been renovated. One of them's tenant has just moved out, so unrenovated, shall we say. And let's have a look. Actually, there's only two or three available at the moment.
All right, now both these buildings yours?
Yeah.
Which ones exactly?
This one. Goes around there. So basically this is Sunrise 1, and here is Sunrise 2.
Oh wow.
So it's these two.
How many units are there in each building?
About 25, 26.
And these are all long-term residential units then?
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. One or two tenants in for like 6 months, but in general 1 year, 2 years plus. In general 2-year contracts rolling.
What made you decide to invest here?
I mean, the yields on some of these buildings are pretty good. I mean, pretty high. You know, you're talking more than sort of 8, 9, 10% usually for the yield. So
is that net or gross?
That's gross. In fact, this one I think was actually more like 12. So it works out, you know, it's a decent investment. But there's work to be done.
Yeah. There's always work.
There's always work to be done. You know, you want to go and buy a flash building in Nishiazabu that's brand new. It'll be like 1% yield if you can afford the $20 million to buy it. You know, so it's a different game altogether.
All right, cool. So take me up the building.
Okay, we'll do.
Yeah, have a look. See, I'll be with you.
So remember, this is a big thing in Japan. You take off your shoes the minute you walk into an apartment. What is the reason for that?
And keep the place clean, right? Basically.
Okay.
Especially from dirty gaijin.
Alright, so this would be the dining room area.
Oh, this would be a kitchen dining room. I mean, I suppose in Japan, really, you'd call this the LDK, right? Living, dining, kitchen.
This is the bathroom.
I mean, these apartments are old, but this is all brand new. The bath, the actual bath, and the heater and everything.
For an apartment like this, how much would the rent be?
The rental in this place would be about 65,000 yen a month.
And then your move-in costs altogether?
Move-in costs usually deposit of about a month, a month-ish, maybe a month and a half. 1 month rent up front. And that's about it.
You act as the managing or the letting agent as well?
No, I have an agent, but I do advertise separately in some of the gaijin publications to get some foreign tenants in. My agent would tend to bring in 99% Japanese tenants.
Do you prefer Japanese or international?
I welcome anybody.
What a good answer. Alright, so this is one of the bedrooms.
Yeah. You can help me with putting the curtain right up in a minute. So this is all new floor. This was tatami floor before. So this new wood floor has just been put down.
So tell me one of the horror stories that you've had after cleaning out one of these rooms.
I mean, you know, in general, we're lucky, and in general, most of the tenants leave the places more or less as they found them. But yeah, one or two, I've had some tenants who have been here like 15, 20 years, and the places really have been pretty unbelievable. Dirty, broken stuff. It's rare, but the ones that are bad are very, very bad, and end up being pretty expensive to get back to normal, to refurbish. But I mean, hey, it's usually people who've been here a long time, you know.
So in times like that, 1 month rent of the deposit that they pay does not cover that. How do you get the cost back?
In general, I don't. In general, it's just totally out of pocket.
Shucks.
Expenses. I mean, you might get, if they've actually done some damage, you know, if they've damaged like holes in these doors, which are pretty soft, or anything they've actually damaged, then you can try and get money from them. And, you know, if you're Japanese, you'll probably get it. But that also never usually covers it, really, because everything's 1 month deposit, and so you do tend to lose out. It's one of the things of this type of rental market. This, you know, if you don't mind me saying, lower end rental market. That's the way it is.
Do you also make use of a guarantee company?
Yes, mostly yes.
So they only guarantee the rent, but they don't guarantee the state of the place?
No, they guarantee the rent.
Explain to me, in different parts of the world, you can get inspections done on a quarterly basis or whichever term. Why is that not something in Japan?
What do you mean? You mean
like to go in and have an actual inspection?
Go in and have a look of somebody's apartment?
Yeah. See if they're still taking care of it, minimize the investor's risk.
I mean, I would say that's just a normal part of Japanese sort of privacy that people would not go for that here. I guess I could try and do that with some people, or I could try and do it with some of the foreigners, but we don't. I mean, it's just not normal in Japan, right? And I think most tenants would be horrified if you tried to do that.
When something has to be refurbished or there's something that needs to be fixed, who do you make use of? Do you do it yourself, or you're DIY?
I do some bits of it myself, but I mean, most of the major work, I have a guy who does a lot of the repairs for me, a lot of the new flooring, a lot of the new kitchen work, things like that. So I do some of the painting myself, cleaning, painting, tidying things up, more basic stuff. Yeah, I do quite a bit of that myself.
Is this a full-time thing that you do, meaning only managing your business, your different properties, or do you have a full-time job as well?
No, I don't have a full-time job. I do this part-time. I do one other things part-time. But this kind of keeps me busy for a fair bit of time, depending on the situation with the rental and the tenants, etc. Luckily, at the moment, we're pretty full, so there's not as much to do.
What is your vacancy rate per annum?
5%.
Yeah, I was just going to say, in our investments, we usually when we work out the numbers, about 5% vacancy rate.
Yeah, I mean, I've had it full, you know, for brief periods, maybe the odd few months here and there, but in general, there's a couple of units probably 2 units out of 50 empty, I would say, on an ongoing basis.
So what are we gonna do now? You're gonna ask me to help you with the railing.
A very simple curtain rail we're gonna put up. Yeah, very easy. Very easy.
We're gonna put that one up there.
Yeah.
So, your value for money, how do you say this specific apartment compares to that?
I'd say, I mean, these places, you know, are about 60 to 65 a month, and you're getting like 50 square meters, so it's quite sizable, you know. If you were going much nearer the station in some of these places, let alone central Tokyo, then you'd probably be paying double that for this sort of size. But it's an older building, you know, it's a bus ride from the station, so you're getting a good space for your money, really, here.
So this is the second apartment, and you say you do have someone moving in here soon.
Yeah, there's somebody moving in here next week, this one.
It's nice and clean. Are they the same size?
Yeah, basically. I mean, I think the one next door might be like 2 square meters bigger or something. And the room next door is the corner unit, right? So there's more windows.
This one still has the tatami mat.
Yeah, I did one, yeah. Especially a lot of the Japanese tenants obviously still like to use the futon, sleeping on the floor.
I tried it, can't get used to that, eh?
Well, otherwise, even a lot of what Japanese do, they put carpet down on this. And if they, especially the ones who want to use a bed, because they know that they'll get charged if they damage the tatami anyway when they move out. You know, a lot of people do put a covering on this anyway, even if they like to sleep on the floor.
So, do a lot of your tenants still prefer the tatami mat?
I would say Japanese, especially older ones, like to have one room with tatami floor. And they particularly like it if it's new, clean tatami, as opposed to second-hand tatami, shall we say.
And then would that be an actual request that they voice?
Some of them would voice that request, and if they particularly voice that request and ask to change the tatami, they would usually agree, in fact, to pay for that, which for a normal size room like this is probably about 60,000 yen.
What is the difference in payments? Is it cheaper or more expensive to put tatami in or wooden floors?
I mean, really not much, because these wood floors here would probably cost 70 to 80,000 yen to put a wood floor down on this, so it's really not that much different for me. So in general, a lot of the older rooms, I change all the tatami and put wood floor down.
Is that just a better investment then?
I think it just means in general it's easier to get tenants in, especially younger people. Definitely younger people prefer a wood floor.
And what is the rent contract for the next one? How long is he going to stay?
2 years initial contract, which is normal.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean then, you know, I'd say half the people leave and half the people extend it and just roll it on, you know, each time.
I heard that the Japanese are very... it's almost like their jobs, that it's lifelong employment, so this is a lifelong stay. What is the longest tenant that you've had here?
I've got 2 who have been here about 30 years.
Wow.
Yeah. I did have one who moved out pretty recently who'd been there, I think 27, 28 years, moved out fairly recently.
And what is your average turnaround?
I'd say 4, 5, 6 years.
That's not too bad.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, some of the younger ones tend to be shorter, you know, a lot of the younger ones they do the 2 years, maybe they stay another year, but the older ones definitely do seem to stay. But that's also, a lot of the oldies here don't find it easy to be able to rent a new apartment. quite a lot of Japanese landlords even won't rent to old Japanese people.
Has that got to do with should something happen to them in the apartment?
You mean if they die?
Yes.
Yeah, they don't want somebody dying in there.
Would that then also, even if it's of a natural cause, would that also classify as a jikabukin property?
Yeah, I think you're supposed to tell the next tenant that somebody's died in the room. So, you know, you're almost certainly not going to be able to get the same rent for it. So, I mean, I've never had anybody die, so I'm not sure.
So if you wanted to increase your return on investment on a unit like this, how would you go about?
Well, basically, I would certainly change all the flooring. I would probably get rid of all these doors and make it an open plan.
Like a studio type?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I don't have many units like this actually in the building. There's only, I think there's 1 or 2 on each floor.
And this is a 40 square.
This is 40 square meters, yeah, this unit.
And roughly you'll rent it out normal price for?
About 56,000 yen a month. So, you know, that's the thing. It's actually the renovation costs against that sort of rent are pretty difficult to justify sometimes, you know. Obviously you've got to try and take a long-term view on it for sure, because otherwise the things will sit empty.
How long generally would it take for you to, for example, get a return on investment or any kind of profit out of this?
You mean on each room?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you're pretty much any decent renovations you're going to start in any room is going to cost you 5-6 months rent.
So just to be safe with the unoccupancy rate, let's take a year.
Yeah.
So after a year, we start making money on something.
Yeah, pretty much. Which obviously wouldn't be a great thing, but you know, we've got 50 odd units, and so in general, most of them are occupied and have a stream already coming in, so it's not too bad.
And so what would you tell any newbie that wants to come into Japan and start investing? What advice as a veteran and as a solid, knowledgeable investor give advice to?
I think if you're going to buy a building like this, an apartment building to invest in, I would definitely make sure you're seeing inside as many of the rooms as possible before you invest. It's a difficult one because, of course, the person who's selling it to you is probably going to say, well, I'm sorry, we can't go and see the rooms. You know, they're all full. Now, of course, they're almost certainly not all full. Because you're really going to find that some of them are going to need quite a bit of work on. And that's quite a big undertaking, is if you don't know the condition of the rooms that you're buying. If you're buying a new building, then, I mean, hey, doesn't matter, right? Then you can just presume everything's nice and lovely, just normal Tokyo apartments. But these older buildings where the yield is, you really have to check what renovations are needed, both internal and external, because it really can start mounting up massively.
Are you looking at furthering your portfolio here in Japan?
I doubt it at the moment, no. Probably maybe some personal stuff, but no more.
Big investment.
I don't think I'll be doing anything else other than this for the big stuff, no.
And how can anyone get a hold of you if they want to take up one of your units?
They can email me. It's probably the easiest way. sunrisehachioji@gmail.com. That's one word, sunrisehachioji. Or I always have adverts on Craigslist Tokyo. You can always find Hachioji apartments on there at any time.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate that you took some time, even though I got lost and it was horrible. But you made extra time for me and showed me around. And I believe everyone that is watching this will also see the massive amount of value and knowledge that you have shared. So thank you so much.
You're welcome. Good to talk to you.
So that was super informative. Gave me a completely different view and a lot of information on the like on the ground type of investment that can happen here, the yields that you can find, what a hands-on investor actually deal with on a daily basis. And I really hope that this is something that you also truly enjoyed. And now it's time for my lunch. Always packing.